What's up, guys? Thank you, as always, for hitting this video. 3 quick things. Number 1, if you're not already subscribed, please do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. 2, if you would like to see early ad-free releases of our episodes on Patreon, you can join Ooze Control via the link in the description below. And number 3, if you'd like to check out previous episodes of the podcast, that playlist is also listed down below. Now relax, enjoy.
The television screen is the retina of the mind's eye. Whatever appears on the television screen emerges as real experience. Therefore, television is reality, and reality is less than television.
I can hear that. This is gonna be our background music.
Yeah, this is the
Ah, bliss.
channeling my Scarlet Pimpernel.
There you go. I feel so posh at the moment. Sink me, sink me.
Cash is going through that phase where he's just like questioning why am I going to school. He's like doing, and I was like, dude, I totally know what you mean, but I don't like say that. But it was funny the other day. He's like, did you know that homework stands for half of my energy wasted on random knowledge? And I thought that was pretty awesome. And then he kept on going. He had some other ones. I wrote them down. I was like, that's amazing. But math stands for mental abuse to humans. I thought that was funny.
Oh my gosh.
And then school stands for 6 cruel hours of our lives. I was like, damn, that one cuts deep. That's
that hard, man.
Yeah.
Man, why didn't my generation come up with those? Those are good.
I know. I was like, so nothing's changed. Cool.
Yeah.
So,
basically.
Ren, are you looking at your son and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's me. This is not good. Like,
Dude, I was talking about that with my buddy. Like, I'm actually really glad of all the stupidity that I participated in because I feel like I can actually, nothing's going to hit me out of left field. Like, I'm kind of, that's the most positive way to think about it, I think. He's saying things where I'm just like, oh my God. Like, you're right, and I can't admit that you're right.
but I want to support you, but I can't in this moment.
Yeah.
I don't even know if this is in contrast because it's kind of basically the same thing, but like the exact opposite side of the spectrum. Hawkins is the literal biggest nerd I know. And he's just blowing my mind in the same way where, like, I mean, I very pridefully identify as kind of a smart person, you know, like I try to live my life up to my own internal standards and I always fail, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Hawkins is way smarter than I ever was.
Really?
Like when I was 7, I was just not as deep as this kid is. So we've been reading through Project Hail Mary. I've been reading it to him. And so, you know, shout out for a movie that's coming out, later this year, Ryan Gosling, freaking excited for it. The book is very science heavy and he will not let me not read it to him. He's been following me around for like 4 days and any chance he gets, he's like, read me this book. And I'm like, go teach yourself to read, nerd. And he's like, let me give you a perfect example of Hawkins nerdiness. So we're like laying down in bed. And I'm like dozing off. I'm almost asleep. And he goes, hey, Dad. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, what does a 3-dimensional mirror look like in 4-dimensional space? And I was like, shut up. Oh my gosh.
That's
It's
awesome.
like time. Go to sleep.
Dude.
That's amazing.
See, I'm just excited that my son Jamie, he just got into Goosebump books. So, like, that's just impressive, dude. I can't believe that.
I wish my kid was into Goosebumps.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Dude, Hawkins is like when I think of my younger years, I feel like I was just like drunk, like blacked out, just like bouncing off the walls and like learning the hard way. But like your son is like, he's like present. Like in a way that's
It's weird.
it's like good weird.
Positive.
It's impressive.
Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
give the wrong impression. Like I'm really proud of my kid for being a smart
course.
7-year-old or all.
Of course.
But like I said, this is about my pride. This has nothing to do with him.
Yeah. Knox is going through some like major changes like in his mind lately.
Oof.
It was a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Dad, so one day am I going to be an ancestor?" And I just like traveled through time, and I'm like, he like blew my mind with that question. I was like, I've never even thought of that. Like that's so cool that you asked that. And I was like, yes, that's amazing. And then, dude, he has this totally natural like desire to like learn about like the Bible, and like he's like, I believe in God. He's like saying these things. He's like, no, I do. I was like, that's awesome. I was like, dude, I think that's cool. I think a lot of people need to come to that conclusion themselves. He's like, yeah. He's like, I really do. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, it's really cool. But he's like, I want to read the Bible. And I was like, okay, I'll get the right one. We'll read it. We'll start reading it every night. And we'll start that as soon as we're done with Wild Robot. He's very spiritual for a 7-year-old.
My dad,
it's crazy.
Was telling us like why he like joined the church and stuff, and it was very similar to like what Knox was talking about. He has like these really formative memories of being a little kid and going to different churches with his parents and stuff, you know, seeing people like worshiping the cross or, you know, different things and stuff, and just being like, I don't get it. And then he watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, and very similar, like all the monkeys are sitting there like worshiping the obelisk, and he was like, this doesn't feel right, you know, this is not like what I think God is. Like there's something like not tangible here. And like he had this deep spirituality too, and then as he got older, he was able to like define his questions more, and no one could answer them. And then he finally just, you know, did all his own research and decided which church he was going to join and why. And that's the reason that redneck I've talked about multiple times on this show cleaned himself up. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's funny.
So 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah, basically.
That's so awesome. That's so cool.
Sweet irony.
Yeah.
That like science evolutionary like non-God movie is one that turned him towards God.
That's awesome. I want to plant my flag right now that whenever the day comes that we do The Shining, we have to immediately do Room 237 right after it. I don't care if we're in the middle of a theme, it's the end of the month, whatever. Like I'm telling you, like I feel like that would be the greatest 1-2 punch that I can think of so far that we have to do. So that's gonna happen. If we ever do The Shining, just assume Room 237 is right after, because I need to get Harrison's reaction to. I want to like hear your brain evolve from like not knowing anything about it to like before and after watching these two movies. I'm really excited. You're like an experiment to me.
So what is that sound of evolution? Is that like holding a filled up balloon and like rubbing your hands across it? That like,
yeah.
I was gonna say I'll just put the mic to my forehead while I watch it, and we'll just record that sound whatever comes out of it. I'm down.
You'll hear this recording like after this has happened, and you'll be like, "Dude, yeah, my things have changed. Things have changed."
Yeah.
Puny humans talked to microphones back then. Now I have evolved.
Let's see. I have one movie report to share with you guys because I have to get it off my chest. It's not a movie, it's a TV show. Me and my wife just watched the last 4 episodes of season 4 of Bridgerton, and somehow she really got me into this show, and I'm like really invested now. It's kind of infuriating. But we have so much fun watching it. And the only thing I'll say is that there's very few movies or television shows where I cry like a lot. I would say About Time is probably so far the only movie where I cried like for 50% of the film. You know, that much of just constantly crying all the time. And there's an episode in season 4 of Bridgerton that I cried from second one to the credit scenes. I could not believe how hard I was like just bawling my eyes out. Like I got like a crying headache out of it. And it wasn't even like, you know, shock value or like, you know, like a cheap way to make you cry. I was just like, I can't comprehend how good these actors are right now. Like they are pulling
awesome.
so many emotions out of me, and it was incredible. I think it was one of the best episodes of television I've ever watched, at least for me personally, because it was crazy.
Why don't we have a metric that we formally keep track of how many movies make us cry and to what scale?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that episode of Bridgerton. Then I'd say About Time. Eternal Sunshine is probably up there as a movie I cried a lot in.
Dude, what about An American Tale, dude? Come on.
Maybe, I'll be honest, I was flat. I was a soulless monster during American Tale.
I'm kind of with you.
I get it. No, that was a total selfish, like nostalgic, like childhood thing. I know it's not sad. Just say.
No. Yeah. Okay, look. I'll give that one moment at the very end of American Tale when they're like, "Yeah, your parents have abandoned you. No one cares about you." And then Feifel finally is like, "You're right," and he just like throws his hat on the ground and he's got tears in his eyes. I'll say that one. I was like, "All right, you got a snivel out of me for that one for sure." Yeah, maybe the scale needs to be like, okay, like stone cold, a snivel, your eyes welled up, a single tear, bawling, inconsolable. There you go. There's our range.
Do you guys do the like clench your teeth, like every muscle shudders, and then like a tear wells up but doesn't fall, like thing? Like how do you start the cry?
See, I think we've talked about this before, but it kind of depends on the situation. If I'm watching something by myself, then I do the I like suck in air. It's like like that's how I cry when I'm by myself. But like, for example, that episode of Bridgerton, I was watching with Nicole, and we love screaming and yelling at the TV. It's like our favorite thing to do as a couple. And when I'm watching that with her, I do a lot of like, oh, go! I like wave my arms in the air.
I usually just break out into laughter right before or as I cry.
That's it's a good way to do it.
If Knox or Cash like falls and they get hurt, like me and Allie will like start laughing, and then we're like, "I'm sorry, we're not laughing at you. We do that when we're like overwhelmed." we do that a lot for some weird reason. But yeah, like, if it's not that, then I just like my eyes just like well up, but the tears never they never fall down the cheek. Never.
That's good. Yeah, no, I'm about right in between you two. I definitely do the like, and then like my whole body just like wobbles. And if I'm like, so Paige and I, we went and saw Eternal Sunshine at Regal Theaters. It's playing this.
I wanted to ask you about that
this week. So we put it on the calendar and actually went on a date. It's been a long time. And she hadn't seen it. But she knew stuff about it. She'd like listened to podcasts about it before. So she wasn't like floored by the plot twists, but it was nice to have like this shared thing that I could like talk about, with her and stuff. But I actually cried more the second time than I did the first time, which was interesting because I feel like the first time was really awesome because of the plot twists and stuff. Like I was really surprised by the movie itself. And everything landed correctly. This time it was like more intellectual, but then because I knew it was coming, like the little kid parts and stuff like that, I just like genuinely cried way more. It was like more emotionally impactful, even though it was a more intellectual experience. I genuinely don't know that I'll ever watch the movie a third time. I feel like I've gotten both experiences.
I just wanted to applaud you for actually going on a date because we went on one a few weeks ago and I was like, like, I forget how rare this is. This should not be awesome. So rare.
It's genuinely so awesome. It's like, oh, I remember why I fell in love with you. Like, not that I'm like question it all the time. It's just nice to feel it every once in a while.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love going out to dinner and not having to order like French fries and like tater tots. So nice.
When you look at the price and you're like, hey, it's like a third.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like a quarter of what I'm used to spending. It doesn't go over 100 and you're like, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
95% of the reason me and Nicole only have 2 kids is we're like, well, if we have a third, that's like an extra ticket to go to Disneyland, then we can't go.
Not in the cards. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not there.
Yeah. Well, I prepared a little true or false for you guys, and this ties into our film. but also
Ooh.
a little bit of history, a little bit of the 80s Soviet themed true or false questionnaire, I guess. Would you guys like to participate?
Let's do it. Scott, do the theme song. Give us the theme song.
No, please don't. Please don't, Scott.
Yes or
Don't do it.
no, the Soviets? Do we like communist Soviets? I don't know. This is weird. Politics, and war.
Bump.
Please don't say the word politics. I'll get triggered. Okay, guys, true or false? In the early 80s, the Soviet Union was so convinced the U.S. was about to launch a surprise attack that they started monitoring the lights in U.S. government buildings at night.
True.
That sounds. I can believe that. I'll go true.
It's like you can't make it up. Of course it's true. All right, so Operation Ryan was a massive Soviet intelligence mission. They looked for anomalies like unexpected pizza deliveries to the Pentagon or lights staying on late in D.C. offices as signs that a war was being planned. Okay.
Dude, all
This is pretty
that
awesome.
all that does, by the way, is I'm like, wait, they did that in the 80s, so what are they doing now?
Yeah,
Okay,
no
anyways. Sheesh.
All right, in 1983, a Soviet officer single-handedly prevented a full-scale nuclear war because he correctly guessed a satellite alarm was a glitch. True or false?
Oh, I think I've heard of this one. I think this is true.
You know, I'll just go against the tide. False. It was 2 people instead of 1.
You idiot! It's true. His name was Stanislav. His name was Stanislav Petrov. His radar showed 5 incoming U.S. missiles. He had a gut feeling it was a false alarm and didn't report it to his superiors. If he did, the USSR would have launched a massive retaliatory strike. He literally saved the world. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that. I need to kind of deep dive into that. That's pretty cool.
I've done enough. So because of my career in game design, I have studied peripherally game theory, which is not game design, but some concepts from game theory are useful for game design, especially in competitive games and stuff. And so I think that's where I came across that story before. And it's one of those ones that you try to forget, but you can't because it's horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Red Dawn holds a Guinness World Record for being the most violent film ever made at the time of its release. True or false?
This is true. This is true, I believe. I think I just read that trivia fact like an hour ago.
Apparently, all of these are true. Okay, so true. At the time, it was the first film to ever receive a PG-13 rating. I always thought it was Gremlins, but not. And it was clocked at an average of 134 acts of violence per hour.
So that means somebody watched this and were like, oh, act of violence, tick.
Yeah.
Oh, act of violence, tick.
Yeah.
Someone had to count those.
Last one. During the 1980s, the U.S. government actually issued Red Dawn survival guides to schools in rural Colorado. True or false?
I'm going to say false because they weren't official Red Dawn survival guides. They were just survival guides.
Dang it. All right.
Isn't
you
that
got
what
that
the
right.
Boy Scout hand manual is?
Yeah, totally. The Weeblo's handbook. Okay, false. While the movie felt like PSA to some, the government didn't issue specific Red Dawn guides. However, the duck and cover drills of the 50s were replaced in the 80s by a general sense of strategic defense awareness. Okay, last one. To make the movie Red Dawn feel authentic, the director hired a CIA consultant to design a realistic Soviet invasion plan for the United States. True or false?
That sounds intense. And from what I've read online, a lot of people said that the plans and like how it actually happened in the movie like was total crap. So I'm gonna say false on that one.
What about you, Scott?
Yeah, that was actually the biggest plot hole for me. Was like, why would they do that? Why are they taking over Colorado? This makes no sense.
I've got news for you guys. It's true.
Oh man.
Director
Oh my gosh.
John Milius wanted the what if to feel terrifyingly real. He consulted with military experts and former CIA members to map out a scenario where a joint Soviet-Cuban Nicaraguan force would strike the American heartland through the soft underbelly of Mexico.
The soft underbelly.
Dang, I feel like definitely reprimanded for feeling something negative towards this movie.
Yeah. All right.
Oh my
I'm going to read
gosh.
a little intro. Let's jump into this movie. We've bullshitted enough. Let's do this. When the tranquil silence of a small American town is shattered by paratroopers descending from the clouds, a group of teenagers flee into the mountains to escape a full-scale Soviet invasion. Transforming from high school athletes into a band of guerrilla fighters known as the Wolverines, they must trade their youth for the grim realities of war to defend their home. In this gritty survival tale, the lines between heroism and heartbreak blur as a new generation fights an impossible battle on their own soil. Red Dawn is a 1984 American action drama film directed by John Milius, screenplay co-written with Kevin Reynolds, starring Patrick Swayze, Charlie Sheen, C. Thomas Howell, Leah Thompson, and Jennifer Grey. In supporting roles played by Ben Johnson, Darren Dalton, Harry Dean Stanton, of course, Ron O'Neal, William Smith, and Powers Booth. Scotty, this was your pick, but go ahead and tell us a little bit about your experience with this movie and why you made us watch such a horrific display of violence.
Yeah, there was at least 143 per hour.
Yeah, it's true.
I felt it too.
Yeah. Oh, man. So this was an interesting experience watching this movie because I haven't watched it since I was a kid, but I did not realize how formative this movie was for me.
I can see that.
Like, when I have talked about feeling uncomfortable about war in other podcasts, like literally every time we've watched a war or war tangent movie, apparently what I was describing was the movie Red Dawn.
We found the root.
Yeah. So basically, when I think of war, I think of this.
Yeah.
Like pure, unromanticized, on the ground, families being killed, teenagers having to grow up, militia, cold, senseless. It's just like, this movie is what I think of war. If you watch this and you're like, dang, that's not war, then I don't agree with you. That's basically it.
Yeah.
I realized that I've basically continued throughout my life to layer ideas on top of what I think of war. Like, when I read history, I view it through this lens, right? And then it's just like, it's strengthened my opinion because of this movie. Like, this movie has genuinely made me terrified of being invaded. And what would I do about it? And I think about those things all the time. And for example, apparently I didn't crystallize this thought until I was watching the parachutes drop down at the beginning of the movie. But every time I hear a fighter jet or a helicopter, I wonder if we're getting invaded.
Absolutely.
Oh no!
Absolutely.
This turned you into a paranoid person, really
And,
hard.
It's
All
pretty
right.
great. Like, so anyway, I've definitely steered my life towards preparedness and stuff like that because of this movie. And I didn't realize that until I watched it like 25 years later. I am not a genuinely paranoid person, but I do pragmatically know what I will do if those things happen.
Absolutely. Dude, that is so true. I was working out by the airport. 3 jets just flying. They sounds like they're like 20 feet away from you. They're so loud. That sound hits a little bit differently these days. Like, that shouldn't be that way.
Dude, that's the one thing about war I always think about is I'm like, it must be so loud. Just all the time. So loud. Like, it just kills me.
Harrison, you had seen this before, right?
Yeah. So I watched this in my teens and I hadn't watched it since. And I'll be honest, when I watched it in my teens, I don't think it really had a huge impact on me. I think I had this idea of, like, when it got chosen, I was like, all right, good old 80s action movie. Let's, someone holding 2 AK-47s is just going nuts. It's kind of how I thought about this movie. And after watching it, I think this movie is very different depending on when you watch it in your life and what the current circumstances of the world is at. I think that when I watched it when I was younger, I was like, all right, action movie. Man, these kids are out there just being badass. This is crazy amazing. Watched it now, I was like, wow, this is freaking horrifying and just scary as hell. It hit way harder. That opening scene actually really messed me up a little bit. Just when they were parachuting in and shooting up the school, that just freaked me out a little bit. That's the worst part. And then, and honestly, I won't be shocked if I watched this in 20 years. I'd be like, wow, this hits differently in a different way than it did when I was in my 30s. Overall, though, I think this movie hit me hard, but not in a very not positive way. I don't know. I don't think the movie is actually all that incredible of a movie, to be honest. I think it has some very, very high highs, but it also has a lot of lows to me. And there's just some things in the film, just like, what is the point of this? Like, this is so dumb. Or like, oh, that was just unnecessary. Things like that. But I mean, I can't deny the fact that I watched it and I felt feelings while I was watching it. So it did something.
When it got picked, I was honestly like, I was all in. I was like, this looks like Rambo meets Stranger Things or something. This looks awesome. The poster, the red cool text, just like the parachutes ascending on the town, Leah Thompson, Charlie Sheen, Harry Dean Stanton. I was like, I'm up. Let's do this. Those title cards just kind of filling you in on the state of the world. It felt very creepy and like prophetic in weird ways. I love that baby blue, that Cheyenne, like Chevy, the Chevrolet truck that he drives.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, I want to detail that thing. That looks so nice.
That looks so sick, yeah.
But yeah, I was like shocked at how quickly things just go in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like it starts off in that history class talking about Genghis Khan, and then the parachutes landing, and then yeah, the most uncomfortable scene for me was the school stuff.
Yeah,
I think I clocked it, and I think the first rocket blowing open the doors of the school was 6 minutes
it
in.
It felt sooner than that, to be honest. Like, like you barely have any time to even breathe, and you're just like off to the races.
No, so this is a whole other topic, but honestly, ever since the Uvalde school shooting, like for a couple of years ago, like just school, like scenes like that in movies just really, really, really mess me up. And I think one of the most effective things they did in that opening scene was when the paratroopers were coming in, like everyone in the class just like walked to the window and they were like, whoa, what's going on? And then the teacher goes out and is like, hey, I think you guys missed your target. And it's just that innocent of like, I don't know what's going on, but obviously it can't be anything bad. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, this is hell on earth right now.
It's pretty wild. And I just hope it had nothing to influence anyone with any of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, no, this movie does, it puts its foot on the gas pedal and just never lets go. I think one thing that they did was very effective in this film is when they get out of town, they end up at that gas station, and I believe that's one of their fathers, if I'm remembering correctly. And they're going in, just grabbing anything they can. And you can see in the background, like plumes of smoke, big explosions. You can hear the sound of gunfire. Like it was still there. And it's like, oh, this is still happening. Like it's still going on. And it's always in your head while you watch the film. The other big positive I'll say about this film is they did a very impressive job of reminding us that all of these characters we're following are all kids and they don't know what they're doing. So even just the fact that when they're in that gas station, just grabbing anything they can, when they go out to the truck, it's like, oh, they have like 4 big cases of soda. It's like, yeah, I guess if you're a teenager and you're like, oh, I need to grab survival, supplies, like, all right, let's grab a bunch of soda. We need something to drink while we're up there. And it's like, you could have filled that up with water, but all right.
That's this movie and that scene in particular. I love that this movie is not big scale. Like you don't know what's going on.
No. Yeah, it put us in the perspective of them. It's like, okay, like we don't know what's going on outside this very small bubble of our town, and we stayed it that way as well. And that was pretty cool.
You kind of touched on this earlier, Scott, but this war film really stands out because you see Paths of Glory or 1917, Dunkirk, whatever. Like, I've never seen a movie where it was portrayed literally here, like with like buildings that look familiar, street signs you can read. It was really this is one of a kind. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a sequel that's supposed to be absolutely garbage, but this concept, I could totally like understand how back in the 80s when this came out, how this could just terrify people with all the Soviet stuff back then and all that.
Have you guys watched, it came out, I think last year or the year before, Civil War? I haven't watched it. It seemed like a movie that would make me feel really uncomfortable, but it feels like it's that similar kind of like, this is really close to home.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, but I've seen clips of it, and even just the clips make me uncomfortable. So that's one that'll probably have to end up on a Cinema Slime list for me to end up watching it.
Yeah, it was funny. Like I texted you right when I was done watching this, and I was just like, I can't remember what I said, but it was on the lines of what a depressing
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you're like, that was the
I
most depressing ending I've ever experienced. And I was
yeah,
like, yeah, kind
that
of.
was tough.
I mean, that's my that's basically my thesis on war.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Yeah.
what did you think the outcome was going to be?
Yeah.
Everyone's happy.
Absolutely. Well, on the topic of like anti-war and like being in films and stuff, like this one hit hard for me. Like I said, just because it was so close to home. Like I don't think an anti-war type of message has really spoke to me the way this one did. And dude, I don't get uncomfortable the way you were explaining, Scott, when you watch a war film. I don't really get that. I do sometimes when I kind of like put myself in their shoes. But like I got like irritable watching this one. Like it gave me feelings, and like the day I watched it, this Mexican cartel murder happened, and then there's people passing the Mexican border in the film, and I'm like, "Oh my god." Like I don't want to be like Harrison, you said when you watch this in 20 years, I hope you're not like, "Dude, remember when we watched Red Scare right before World War III started? That was crazy."
Oh, Red.
Like
Yeah,
that better not happen.
I agree. I hope that doesn't happen.
The first time I've watched this twice now. The first viewing, when it was over, I was just like, I watched it with my family, and when it was over, I was like, thank God that's over. And we were all just like kind of quiet and just went along with the rest of the evening. But like, I hated this movie. Like, like there's things I can respect about it, and there's powerful messages, and the anti-war spoke to me a ton. But on my second viewing, I really liked it a lot more. I didn't realize there's a ton of really beautiful scenery in this movie too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember a single shot the first time I was watching this, but the second time I was like, oh wow, this like makes me want to go camping. Like I want to go out like in the wilderness and get cold and
Yeah.
freaking do that. As soon as the weather lets up, which it
Right.
looks like it is, we're going camping.
Ooh, that's good.
Maybe like 30 or 40 minutes into the movie, Harry Dean Stanton, his character comes in. They kind of meet them at the fence when they go back into town. And he screams, "Avenge me," and all that. And like, this is my first Patrick Swayze film.
Oof.
And I just wanted to talk about his performance. So on my second watch, I want to give him props. And not only did he really get sent out to do like Green Beret training with the other cast members, but like just seeing his aura, his observation, his leadership, and then his bad temper, like getting into the fight with that other kid, throwing the backpack at him after he like trips him over the fire. But I think that he plays his character in a particular way because when we meet his dad, played by Harry Dean Stanton, Swayze plays his character Jed like I could imagine Harry Dean Stanton would play his character as a younger father raising his boys in the wilderness.
Oh yeah.
Like teaching them how to hunt and skinning deer, surviving off the land and doing all that. And that was not apparent to me at all on my first view. Like, you know, you see him, he's like a staunch, he's just kind of like a hard-headed type of leader. And then you meet his dad and you're like, okay, I see where he gets it. Mm-hmm. And Charlie Sheen's character, not as much, but definitely, you know, the older son, Jed.
Yeah.
I don't know a ton about Swayze, but he's a legitimate actor. And from what I was reading about the research, he kind of went method for this. Like, he wouldn't break character off camera. Mm-hmm. He was directing the other actors, and he was the most experienced actor of all the kids. So I don't know if that was intentionally on his mind, but he kills it. Patrick Swayze lost his real dad about a month or two before he began filming for Red Dawn.
Dang.
So I can just imagine him trying to do the best job possible. He's channeling who his father would be. And I don't know, it just added this other layer to the viewing experience that I don't know if anyone else has caught up on or thought of, but I thought that was really good.
No, I think so. One of the big positives that I think this film does is it, like I kind of mentioned before, that they, you know, you're reminded constantly that these are kids and they don't really know what they're doing, especially in like the first half of the film. You know, they're trying to learn how to survive out there. They're trying to, you know, just get information as best they can. They're confused. There's a couple of the kids that are freaking out and they don't know what to do. And I think Jed's character throughout this film, I feel like you really see the transformation of, a kid who is the oldest in this group, and he kind of like naturally just steps into this leadership position, and he's like, okay, I guess I'm in charge now. And then throughout the film, you kind of see, the effects of war and killing people and these guerrilla tactics and everything, the breakdown of when they find out one of the guys has a tracking device in his stomach and they have to kill him. And then I think it really, like, the moment that really hits you in the gut is when he's sitting in the snow and he's got that picture of himself like in Little League or something.
Oh yeah.
And he's just staring at that photo. And you can just see in his head, just thinking, that's who I used to be. What am I now? I'm a monster. I can't believe I've turned into this. Why can't I go back to the way it was? So on and so on and so on. And just his mental breakdown and him crying over that photo, like, gosh, like that scene really killed me. Patrick Swayze is an incredible actor, and I think that was just a very, very strong performance by him.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan now.
Yeah, big fan.
I've seen him cry on camera in a couple movies, and he's like a legit crier. He does a good job.
Yeah. By the way, so just to go back to Harry Dean Stanton showing up, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the guy from Paris, Texas, isn't it? And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, I wonder if we could actually connect Red Dawn to Paris, Texas, and maybe it'll like line up, like in terms of his character. Like, did he like leave his son with his mom, and then he drove down to Colorado and started living here?
Paris, Texas.
Is there a universe connection there?
He turned left. He didn't go to Texas. He went to Colorado.
That was it.
That's right.
Just went there.
That's
yes.
awesome. Avenge me!
Avenge me. Okay, so look, I was watching this and I don't know. I had a lot of like parenting moments when I was watching this film.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes where it's like, kind of that macho thing where it's like, why are you crying? Stop crying. Crying doesn't do anything for you. And I was watching, I was like, okay, is this just like the mentality that it was back then and that's just the way it is? Or is this movie trying to show me like, hey, this mentality isn't healthy? And it's not okay to be like that.
I mean, okay, so here's my take, because I was having the same thoughts. I think it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also a little bit of reality, because you think about who these guys are. They're just like middle America conservative families, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go out, they go hunting and stuff like that. They're anti-commie. They're in the middle of the Cold War. Especially being raised by Harry Dean Stanton's character. Like, I got some of that growing up, and not as intensely because, like I was saying, my dad changed from when he was a teenager to when he was a parent, but he also, had a shotgun wedding. So it's not like he had this nice buffer to like compose himself.
He did his best.
Like stumbling through life, he did his best. He does his best. And I think that those people, like Harry Dean Stanton's dad, was like a World War II vet, and that's like the silent generation. And that was like, no, like there is no emotion and it's weak. And so like, I think this movie, my biggest takeaway from this movie, having watched it again, is that war is hell. It changes you. And sometimes you need to do what you need to do to survive and stuff, but that's not like healthy. Mm-hmm. Surviving and thriving are two different things, but at least you're not dead? Question mark.
Yeah.
It's ambiguous. So yeah, I don't know that it's like a heavily layered theme or anything. I just think that Jed's character, he needed to do what he needed to do, and obviously the keep it in, channel it towards something, make it burn inside you and stuff. That helped create Robert or whatever, the guy that sawed off the shotgun and was just like carving every one of his kills into the butt of his gun and stuff like that. Like the crashed fighter pilot, the American fighter pilot, he said a line that I didn't realize was from this movie, but I've thought of forever, which is, careful with that anger, kid. It's going to burn you up inside. And he was like, yeah, it keeps me warm. And like, I think about that all the time when people just have that like deep, deep hatred inside them. That's like a warning sign of like, okay, man, like I understand where you're coming from, but gosh, like you're ruining your life. I don't know if either of you guys have this problem. But I'll go through different phases of listening to different podcasts or radio shows or whatever, and like I'm really enjoying it and I learn a lot from it and stuff like that, but eventually it just riles me up.
Yeah.
And the injustice that they continue to highlight, or the gap between the reality I want, or reality and the thing they're describing, even if it's a positive gap, like, or something like that. Eventually, if I dwell on that thing, I obsess over it, or whatever the case is, that will like destroy my life.
Oh yeah,
to some degree, and it seeps into your relationships and it seeps into your conversations. And when you hear people you love and respect talk about random things, and then you keep relating it to this like thing that you've been assessing about and stuff like that. And then usually like 3 or 4 months in or something, I'm like, you know what? This is not healthy. And it's not necessarily the thing I'm watching or listening to. It's the fact that I have an unhealthy relationship with it. And so then like my pattern is I just kind of like cold turkey stop for a while and try to like make everything level out again and stuff like that. But man, like I think that what this movie I think captures is that, you know, they needed a couple of different character archetypes. And so Jed's a really good one, and that other kid's a really good one. Then you've also got the, you know, the mayor's political mayor's, you know, son that's the student body president, and they, you know, they play the politics and stuff like that. You also need the really young, innocent, like 15-year-old, and you need the girls to like step up and like shove the guys around and tell them to stop being assholes and stuff like that. Like each character really carries their own weight, and I think it's surprising to me how many of those characters I didn't realize I kind of use as a archetypal like basis for how I think about different people's interactions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, I would say I can relate to you in some way in terms of, you were talking about, you know, listening to podcasts and sometimes they just bring up stuff to make you mad. It's kind of like when that family member leaves a comment on your Facebook post and you're just like, oh, you're like, it's like, okay, now I know your political opinion. That's great. I usually stick with like just nerdy podcasts to talk about X-Men books. So I don't really get it from that, but like my Reddit threads, lots of times, like it was like 6 months ago or so, I was like, you know what? I've been kind of down in the dumps and really just bogged down by crap. And it's probably because of all the crap I'm reading on Reddit. So I remember I spent the day just really just filtering out everything. I was like, I'm unsubscribing from this one. I'm not listening to this post anymore. And I just went through and really cleaned it up a little bit. Incredible how nice it was to not have to have all that crap in my face all the time. And it's been slowly like kind of creeping back in over the past 2 weeks. And so I'm trying to get back on it and be like, nope, I don't need to hear about all this stuff that's happening in the world that doesn't really affect me or I can't do anything about. So I get that.
Yeah. I've got this kind of rule of thumb now. And this is, I started doing this maybe 4 years ago, something like that, 4 or 5 years ago. But one of my biggest concerns with like not doing news and stuff like that was that I really just would be uninformed. I wouldn't know what was going on. And I just decided one day in the middle of like a really horribly depressive funk that I was done. I was just done with social media entirely. And I literally deleted, not just stopped logging in, but like literally deleted every single social media account I had, like took the data off their platforms. So I couldn't like have an excuse to go back on.
Nice.
And then I was really surprised to find out that everything important I still hear about, and everything unimportant I don't.
Exactly.
It's true.
Yep.
It's so true. Oh my gosh.
If you enjoy watching our show on Spotify or YouTube and you want to be more involved, we encourage you to please come check out our Patreon community. Not only does our Patreon community get every episode you see on YouTube early, fully uncut, uncensored, and ad-free, but we're also doing Patreon-exclusive episodes, as well as Q&As, video clips, and access to our entire film catalog. It's a lot of fun and a nice way to say thanks for the cost of a cup of coffee every month. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, you really have to protect yourself. And I'm being hypocritical because I can't stop reading about Pizzagate and Epstein and all this insane stuff happening. So don't listen to me. But like what you guys are talking about, I am in the middle of all that. And I agree, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
It is not good.
So parenting question for you guys. Because like I said, I had a lot of like parenting question moments in this. Like Like, honestly, like when Harry Dean Stanton was like, avenge me, I was like, well, that's a trip to the therapist. Okay.
Okay. I wrote that down for the most 1984 thing about this is just telling your kids to not cry. And then, yeah. And then, dude, the number one thing the part I hated the most in this movie, when they're hiding on the side of that mountain, the Russians are up there and they're like reading the, that like sign about the history of it. And then they see him. Swayze shoots that guy with a freaking bow and arrow, but Swayze, he kind of corners that guy. He's holding the handgun up to him, and I was like, he's not going to shoot him. And he freaking killed that guy to quote-unquote avenge his dad. And I like almost turned the movie off. I was like, dude, this is tough. Like, I don't care that he's Russian. No. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, that felt so cold.
Honestly, so I feel like one problem this movie has is every like guerrilla fight scene after that one felt so like action hero. Just, I don't know, like it just felt very like, yeah, we're shooting guns in this direction. You know, like it wasn't interesting. It didn't, I don't know, it didn't really feel good. At least coming from now. I'm sure back when I watched it as a teenager, I was like, this is so cool. But now I'm just like, this is terrible. Yeah, that whole scene you're talking about, I feel like that one was very gritty and painful to watch. Because it was like, oh, this is the first time they've started killing people, and you kind of you just see that struggle, you see the inexperience of them, and then that moment when he shoots him when he's back in the truck, I'm just like, fuck, like just innocence flew out of the window right there. Yeah. But back to my question real quick. So if you brought your kids hunting, would you make them drink the blood of a deer that they killed?
I actually have a thing to talk about this, but Ren, say what you're going to say first.
I would bite the liver, and I actually would do this. I've read about this in, I believe it's Undaunted Courage. It's about Lewis and Clark, their travels across the U.S., and I think there's an account of them like running into a group of Native Americans. They just killed a bison, and they like turn their head, and they just in their account just says like how their faces were just covered in blood. I was like, that's tight. That's really cool, actually. But yeah, I'd do it. I'd do anything once, and I'm not picky, so I'll eat it.
Me, I don't know. I have no interest in hunting. I don't have a problem with it at all. I'll go for it, but I don't personally do it, so it's kind of hard for me to say what I would do because I don't know what I would do. But I could see like grabbing the blood and putting it on his hand and being like, there you go. But I don't know about drinking the blood. I don't know about that. We'll see.
Yeah, not drinking blood. Like I said, I'd eat some liver and some heart, but no. Not the blood. That doesn't... Actually, I was reading up on this. The Native Americans would like collect the blood from their kills in the stomach of whatever animal that they hunted, and then they would drink it as a source of iron. Just a little interesting thing. But yeah, that sounds a tough way for some iron vitamins.
Yeah. At least they make them tasty now.
Scott, you got me on the edge of my seat, dude. Go ahead. Tell us this bloody story.
So so my brother and I, we were studying the first couple of books of the Old Testament. And so the first 5 books of the Old Testament are the Torah. So Jewish and Christians both have the same first 5 books, and they're kind of interpreted slightly differently, but still, it's the children of Israel and stuff like that. So in Leviticus 17, it's talking about building the temple of Israel and all of the rites that you do with sacrifices and stuff like that. But it explicitly is a commandment from God to not drink blood from an animal, like ever.
What?
And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like having just studied that with my brother like a year ago or something like that, and then seeing it in Red Dawn and being like, hey, I have a thought about that now. So it's kind of funny.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like he goes through some sort of transformation when he does that, but it almost kind of makes him lose his mind. So maybe
one thing that's like culturally important to know about Torah is like especially the book of Genesis, but it does continue through the later books, is everything in those is like a direct counterpoint to what was culturally acceptable and normal at the time, and that's why it's in the scriptures, is because it's like saying, no, this is normal, and I'm telling you don't do that for these explicit reasons. So basically, if it's mentioned in Leviticus, it's because that was a common practice, and for some reason it wasn't acceptable to do that. So counter pagan or something. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, that's my little bit about drinking blood in Red Dawn. I like had a connection.
I was kind of surprised how often we spent time with the Cubans and the guys who invaded that town. There was a lot of moments where it shifted over to them and we followed their story. And I know you do that. Like, there's lots of war movies that do that. And most of the time I feel like the goal of it is to kind of sympathize both sides. And then you kind of get that feeling of like, oh, this is just people killing people. This isn't good guys versus bad guys. But in this film, whenever they swapped to the other side, I was like, I don't really care about you guys. And I feel like you're not making me sympathize with you guys at all. Like, I feel like I'd never had that moment in this film.
Question. Did the movie you watch have subtitles? Because mine did not.
There was subtitles.
Okay, so that's interesting. I wonder if that's I did wonder watching this, because the whole time I was like, they're really just like talking to each other in Russian and Spanish. Like, they're just like having full-on conversations and like having emotional reactions with each other. And then I would basically pick out like the random Spanish word I know, and then they would say Wolverine, and then they would like act aggressively and stuff like that. But I genuinely don't know what they were saying. But it was also kind of cool. But that makes more sense if that was like the intended thing, is you actually knew what they were saying. So I have no idea what they were saying.
Oh, Scott.
I'll fill you in. Basically, there's a point where the Cuban like general, he like writes a letter.
The guy that like, he was like the one that let them go later.
Yeah, and he doesn't flinch
Okay.
at any of the bullets. I don't know if you saw that in the beginning, but like there's like a helicopter flying and he like doesn't budge at all. He's a badass. But he's like writing a letter to someone that he loves, and that's why he spares them at the end and lets them go. But
like that one, and then kind of the other slightly important one was, so they're doing these guerrilla tactics and killing all these Russians and Cubans and all that, and then they would sort of retaliate by killing civilians in the town. And there's a point where one of the leaders comes in and they have this big meeting. And they also have a poster of like what a Wolverine actually looks like, and like it's like footprints and like fun facts about the animal. I thought that was a really weird poster that someone had to make.
Yeah. Cute. Science fair project.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it felt like. But he comes in and he's basically like, hey, you guys can't do this. Like, you can't just execute citizens as a retaliation against these guerrilla, teenagers up in the mountains. That's actually hurting your efforts right now. And that's when they kind of assemble, and they're finally like, oh, maybe we should just send a couple of helicopters and go find them. Yeah, this is a movie where I was watching it, I was like, I feel like this movie could have ended in the first 30 minutes, but we had to make a movie, so it had to be an hour and a half or whatever it was.
2 hours.
Oh, there we go. That's what it was.
I have a low I'd like to share. I gotta get this off my chest too.
Oh, I got another one too. Go.
I highlighted Patrick Swayze's performance. It was awesome, but overall, the acting in this movie is pretty awful. Like, to be harsh and like a nice way of, basically, it was aight. Like, I wasn't blown away by like 80% of the cast. I was thinking about this, and I don't do this often, so I don't feel too bad doing this, but I want to request a recast of one character.
Ooh, okay. I have my guess.
The role that was given to C. Thomas Howell, like of the three, he's the one that drinks the deer blood.
Yes. Oh, him?
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
The angry kid.
Yeah. I didn't buy his performance for even half a second. I don't know why. I feel like there were so many other deserving actors. I don't want to be too mean. Like, I'm half joking with all this anyways, so. But I instantly recognized him as one of the kids from E.T. But yeah, I wasn't buying it, and I feel kind of bad saying all these things about it. But give it to someone else, please.
See, honestly, I didn't mind him. Charlie Sheen did not do it for me in this movie. He
oh, really?
Like, his fake crying was really bad to me. I was just like, all right, let's get over with this. Let's move on. And then this Emmy line right here. Okay, he sits down with his brother Jeb in the middle of the snow, and he goes, It's kind of weird how the mountains pay no attention to us. You laugh, you cry, but the wind keeps on blowing. It's just like, what was that? Like, come on. Like, I don't know. That one got a huge eye roll from me personally.
Yeah. On my second watch, though, the C. Thomas Howell performance, I was just like, yeah, I feel stronger about this. Like, he doesn't like he has so many good scenes, and he's so forgettable. His death sucks. Like the deer drinking of the blood. Like, I don't know. I just wanted a real actor.
It's good.
Sorry.
It's good. It's good.
The other thing about this film that just really adds a really big dark tone to it is I feel like half of the deaths in this movie were suicides, basically. Like Robert, the guy you're talking about, like they run away from that helicopter and he's just decides to stop and just stand in front of this helicopter and he screams out Wolverine and shoots at it, which in my head was a lot more badass when I watched it back in the day. Watching it now, I was like, that was really depressing. And then Jeb and I can't remember his brother's name, but Charlie Sheen's character, they're basically like, okay, we're gonna go in and cause a distraction for you guys to escape. And it's like, oh, like they're just going in to die. And like even before they go, they get up on that rock and he carves everyone's name into it. He carves his own and his brother's into it. And so I don't know, I was just watching, I was like, oh, they're going in with the purpose of dying. And I was like, wow.
Even Tony, the gal that got shot and blew herself up with a grenade, that was a suicide.
Yeah, that was too.
And the guy that swallowed the tracking device, like he had to know that wasn't going to end well.
Dude,
like they were going to come kill him.
that was another super dark thing, because what he tells me is like, they did things to me and I had to swallow this tracker and blah blah blah. I was just like, fuck. Like just more moments of like, these are kids, these are like teenagers. My other low point, and I'm grateful they cut out some of this because apparently it was a bigger storyline than it was. That colonel drops from his plane, and I think her name's Tony, I believe is one of the gals' name.
It was the other one. It was Leah Thompson's character.
Oh, that was it. Yeah. So there was supposed to be like this little romance between them, and you slightly see it. Like they both have like a flower that they show to each other. And what was it? There's a scene where they're playing football, and the colonel's like sitting on the ground. And he's like talking to her, and then he like reaches up to like pull her down, and I was like, perv alert. Okay, how old is she? What's going on? And I was just watching. I was like, I'm so glad it stopped right there because icky.
I read
just
that
so
too.
Icky.
Well, there's one scene where Leah Thompson, she gets really worked up about how she loves that guy after he passes. I was like, this is tough. But I guess there was a deleted scene. There was also, they never filmed it, but they were trying to get a scene between Jenny Gray and Patrick Swayze, and Swayze was just like, no, like I don't want to do that. And then they ended up not doing it. And then Swayze and Jenny Gray like didn't talk for like another like 3 or 4 weeks when they were filming the movie. But I guess it wasn't bad enough because a couple years later they ended up doing Dirty Dancing. I'm sure they worked it out for that movie, but I thought that was interesting. He was just like, no, I'm not doing that. And she wanted the scene.
They do their like little flirt scene, which I think was the right amount of like, we've been living together for like 5 months now or whatever, 4 months through the winter. And they're like, yeah, we got all these food and oranges. And she starts like squirting the juice on his head and stuff like that. I was like, these are just a bunch of kids like finally feeling happy for the first time in months. So I feel like that one scene was enough to convey everything needed, that they're like close and friends, but you don't need them to be all lovey-dovey.
By the way, just before that scene where when they actually get the oranges and everything, it falls off that truck. When she runs out there and she's like holding up the food, I was like, she's going to blow up right now. Body parts flying everywhere. I was like waiting for her to die, and it didn't happen, but I was just like waiting for it.
So Jenny Gray, her character, she's like the biggest hero in the film, it seems like. She like runs up to the tank, throws the grenade in, she books it, and then they all chase her, and then everyone else on the team comes up from the holes in the ground and shoots them. And I was like, there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong in that situation. And she's so lucky to be alive. It was a poorly executed, or I guess it worked, but a poor plan that ended up working.
It worked, but it's like, wait, hold on. So someone could have just had one gun and shot her. like that's not a hard thing to happen. That could have happened, you know?
Yeah, and that's an interesting, like, hard transition into, by the way, they're doing guerrilla warfare tactics now. Like, it was an interesting choice of a scene for the viewer to be introduced to what they're doing, because there was no planning or anything. It was just like they decided, you know what, we're done, and now, by the way, we're gonna start like guerrilla warfare.
The other kind of hard transition I noticed was the whole the guy swallowing the tracker, and all of a sudden they're following him. That was like, because they don't show you that scene of him getting kidnapped. It's something you find out afterwards. And for some reason, I felt like that one worked really well. I was like, wow, they didn't have to show us the moment that he got kidnapped and they tortured him and made him swallow that tracker.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that. I love that you bring that up. That is an interesting and kind of cool storytelling tactic, because the viewer, we basically got to have the Vertigo situation of like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a thing that we have to worry about now? And then it was within like 3 minutes that they're all just standing about ready to execute him, and like having to grapple with that. You haven't even gotten over the fact that he like betrayed them yet, but like, I guess, what are you gonna do? And that's like the hardness and the speed of it is just unraveling and really kind of interesting and dark.
Well, yeah,
dark.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Well, I think they did it successfully in that moment, because it's a really hard switch, and it's just like, oh, like I have to make this decision right now that this guy who's been living with me this whole time all of a sudden is now a liability, and I feel like he betrayed me, and putting that pressure on Jeb and everyone else, like, okay, what do we do with him now? You know, like we kind of go into this panic fight or flight moment with the characters as well. So I mean, I like gold star on that scene and that whole situation.
Oh, and that's the scene where it puts Robert like, you're like, oh, he's past the point of no return, because Jeb's got the gun and he's about ready to do it, but then he can't do it because he's human and he's hardened. And, you know, and he says the line just beforehand. He's like, what's the difference between them and us? It's like, well, we live here. They're the ones that are invading us, you know? So I have to do this as like defense. And so there's like at least humanizing and dehumanizing rationalization going in there. And then Robert just walks up and he's just like, oh, you're weak. I'm going to just like blow my friend away and then just walk away. And you know, the fact that he like falls on him and like bleeds out all over his coat and stuff like that, and Robert just like walks away, you're like, oh, that guy is gone. That anger burnt him up. He's done. This situation has ruined him.
No, honestly, when he fell on him and put the blood on there, and it's just so contrast because of the white suits they're wearing, like I was like, oh, okay, here's his chance to realize what he just did and for his humanity to come back. And maybe for him to have a reality check. And then when he just walks away, you're like, all right, gone. No hope. Like, ooh, man.
I hate that you can't even like be mad at him. That's the frustrating thing. It's like, you know enough. And if you imagine, like, I just grew up in this little suburb or whatever, and then we have to go out and live in the woods with Chief, you know, or something like that. And there's just a level of just like anger and survival and irrationality about the situation that you just, I don't know, you have to adapt to. And I just hate that that's a possibility, that the humanity didn't win out. And it's sad, but it's also like, how many people would have done that? Could I have been that guy that got too hard because I was thinking about my family too much? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's that situation where it's like, it needs to happen. I don't want to be the one to do it though. You know? It's I hate.
There's a reason why when executions occur by like firing squad.
Hey everybody, just popping in real quick. If you could hit that like and subscribe button, that would really help us out a lot. But either way, let's get back to the show.
They have like 5, you know, guns out there, and 5 guys with guns, and only one of them has an actual round, and the rest have blanks. So between the 5 of them, they don't know who actually killed the guy, because apparently that matters to humans.
Yeah, no, I've read that before too, and it's just like, huh. You know, you always have that deniability in your head. It's like, I had a blank. It wasn't me. I didn't do this, you know. Oh, man.
I have a question.
Oh, go for it.
Why didn't they hire a single Russian person in this movie? No one was Russian. Everyone looks so American. It was funny, except for the Cuban.
Oh,
side of things, but yeah.
I did have a thought because I didn't have any subtitles for when the bad guys were talking to each other. So the main Cuban guy, the first time you see him, and he doesn't flinch from the helicopters, he switches between, I think, English, Russian, and Spanish all in one scene. And I was like, bro, how do you know those languages? And how can you rattle them off so fast?
That is impressive. One thing I learned from this movie, basically, I never thought of pissing in your car's radiator if you need a refill. I was like, oh, good to know.
Honestly, I saw that scene. I was like, why wasn't this on Mythbusters? Like, it's got to be. There's got to be an episode of Mythbusters about this scene. I bet.
That's so funny. That's a great idea too. Yeah. Like, hey, and like Patrick Swayze's response, he's like, hey, that's a funny idea. Do it, stupid 15-year-old.
Oh, I forgot to do some research, but I was curious. That green Star Wars hat that he wears, I wonder if that's worth like a ton of money or if like where that hat is, because that hat is pretty sick.
It is pretty cool. I also, by the way, I don't know if you guys got this vibe, but I was looking at this town. I was like, this feels very Tremors to me. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what
Totally.
it is. Like, it's just that small town. It's bigger, obviously, but still had that vibe.
When my family and we traveled around the U.S. like a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. There were a lot of towns just like that. And when I saw the start of this movie, I was like, this is the literal most normal town, the most normal American town I've ever seen. Like, there is nothing extraordinary about it. It's not too small. It's not too big. It's just like that random middle America town now invaded by Russians. It could be any.
Calumet, Colorado.
Every building, every tree, every like school, like everything in that. I was like, yeah, that's America. That's generically America. Oh, actually, I just had a random thought. Okay, so I grew up in Salem, right next to this elementary school called Scott Elementary School. Apparently, there was a terrorist group that was caught, and they caught all of their plans for like doing terrorist things inside America. And one of their plans was to blow up Scott Elementary School, right where I live next to, for the exact same reason as why the CIA guy talked about getting into the soft underbelly of America. Like, it would be more psychological damaging to have like a random elementary school blown up in a random town in a random state than like bombing Washington, D.C. or New York or something like that. Like, those are big and devastating, but it's more psychologically damaging for them to like blow up a random middle nothing school.
Oh,
overall.
Yeah.
Scott, I can't believe this just went through my head. So when you were talking about that, all I could think about was playing StarCraft. And like, when
I remember. Oh yeah.
You're like,
thank you for bringing this story up.
Like, no, I don't know what story you're talking about, but my moment was like, it's kind of the same feeling of when you're playing StarCraft or Warcraft 3 and you're like setting up your base and you have like your towers and your units set up and like where you expect the bad guys to come, and then all of a sudden someone flies a ship like behind you and starts hitting your workers from behind you, and you're just like, shit. It's that same like panicked feeling of like, they hit where I wasn't expecting, and it affects me more than I thought it would. Like, I don't know.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. I might be transplanting you into a story where you weren't actually present, but I seem to remember when Paige and I first got married, like 15 years ago. We were in my apartment playing Supreme Commander and a LAN.
Yes.
And I was losing. Yes. It was like a 3-way. It was like me, you, and Wesley, I think, or maybe Joe, my brother, something like that. And I was like absolutely losing. And so I brought in my how I play Risk tactic of just like feigning being really weak and just like making alliances so that we can help each other, quote unquote. And so I started doing that. And so you're like, yeah, sure. And think about it now, you were probably like 12 or 13 years old and I was like 25 or something.
Oh my God.
So this is pretty funny. But I just like, literally became your ally. Like there's a button in Supreme Commander you can do that so that your units don't like start firing at each other anymore. And so I was like, yeah, I'll just help like manage your base so you can go take out Wesley. So then we'll both win. And then I just built all these tiny like level 1 units of like towers all over the inside of your base when you were not looking. And then I turned off the alliance thing and it just demolished you.
I remember that LAN party. I don't remember that moment, but I'm not shocked one bit.
So me. Don't play me in an RTS because I played dirty.
My boys, whenever they see like something nerdy or a nerd or something, they go, according to my calculations. And I kind of want to say that to you guys right
now. Pretty much. Oh my gosh. Okay. So just a couple of random things I have listed down. One actually kind of a cool thing. And I think it adds to kind of this story we have of these kids being kids. There's a moment where they go into town and they kind of get a little bit of information from the people. Then they go meet up with Mr. Mason. And as they walk into his house to sit down, and that's when the girls join their group because they're his granddaughters, he takes the guns from the boys and he actually takes them and puts the safety on and like, you know, just make sure the gun isn't going to go off and sets it down. Then he grabs another gun and puts the safety on and puts it down. And I was like, that's a nice little I don't know. It's just a nice little detail of someone who's more experienced with guns and hunting other than these two kids. So just a little props to them.
Awesome. Awesome bringing it up. That's a good attention to detail. Also, is that old guy like an actor that I should know because he did a good job?
I like that the mayor of this town is the bad guy coach for Mighty Ducks. I thought that was a cool little actor.
He wins the award for most punchable face in this movie.
Dude, oh my gosh. No, especially in Mighty Ducks. I'm just like, you're just the worst. Then there's another scene where, they're about to shoot all these civilians off of like a cliff. And, you know, the Wolverines come in and save them. There's a moment where they throw a grenade down there. And I was watching, I was like, hold on. We're on a side of a cliff with a one-way road. And there's a ton of civilians right there. That was a very risky grenade you just threw. it just kind of made me panic for that in that moment. Let's see. What was the other one? I like the moment when the colonel is kind of laying out this plan. He's got like all these little miniature figures. He's like, all right, we're entering from the west. You guys do covering fire over here and blah, 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 blah. And then the kids are all like, what's that mean? Wait, which direction am I coming in? Blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, oh, I need a drink. And then they cut to the next scene and they're like, all right, let's just all get in this truck, ram down the fence and just start shooting everybody. That's what we'll do. and then there's that moment where he goes up to one of the fighter jets and he flips off the guy that's sitting in the seat and then sticks a grenade in there and blows him up. I was like, that was the most like action hero-y thing in this movie.
Probably one of my larger critiques of this movie is that they didn't lean into the danger of the guerrilla warfare early enough. They like what you were saying, there was a lot of the like action hero-y, like, you know, they live, let's just put the gun on my hip and just kind of like wobble around and push the trigger a bunch of times. These are just a bunch of little kids, you know, they're just like going in guns a-blazing. And I kind of feel like maybe it might have been more useful for the script to just have one of the kids get shot and die earlier to raise the stakes earlier. And then they can continue to do it, but with the knowledge that like the stakes are really, really high instead of we're just a bunch of heroes saving our town.
Part of the problem with this film I had was there were so many mood swings in this film to me. Like the scenes where they're shooting them down and all that stuff, it felt almost heroic and like, oh man, like we're amazing. And then like the next scene is like, man, I'm psychologically tortured by the fact that I just killed all these people. And it's like, okay, like I feel like I'm just getting pulled in half while I was watching this film because it's like, okay, am I supposed to be depressed and feel like crud for what just happened? Or am I supposed to be like, wow, I want to go and get an AK-47 of my own and just like, you know, be an action hero.
Kill some commies, etc.
You know, yeah, exactly.
You just described my problem with The Last of Us, the game that is amazing. That's really genuinely good. It's like every cutscene is this deep, emotional, tortured thing, and then you go to gameplay, and it's just like murder machine simulator, boop doop doop doop, and then it cuts to the cutscene again, and you like feel the things, and it's like if you think about it once, you can't unsee it, and it like ruined the game for me. But not because the game was bad. Like the gameplay was good and the emotional stakes are good. They're just so separated, and it's really similar in this movie. It's like oscillates, like it's a whiplash.
The other thing that was the other kind of punch in the gut at the end as well for me was the one gal and the one dude, they end up escaping, and then everything kind of wraps up. And then we get this kind of narration as it's looking over the monument set for the Wolverines. And she actually specifically mentions that no one visits this monument. And I was just sitting there and I was like, I guess this is a very small town in the middle of America, in the middle of nowhere. And while we just watched a 2-hour movie about these kids and their experience, this was probably the tiniest little blip in this whole history of this, made up World War III. And it's like, wow, I guess if you think about it, this is a pretty insignificant story. And it kind of made me think, it made me think about 1917, honestly.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing where it's like, if you watch that movie from the perspective of the general at the very end, all his story is like he woke up, decided he's going to send these guys out to try and take over, to defeat the Germans. And all of a sudden this random dude shows up and says, hey, you shouldn't do that. Here's orders from a general. That's all from that general's perspective. That's all that happened. But to us, we just watched this incredible journey of this soldier risking his life, losing one of his good friends to get there to give him that message. And so to me, yeah, so like that just gave me the same feeling as this movie where it's like, oh, like, everything we just watched is just nothing in comparison to everything that's happening in the world. And it's just crazy to think about it that way.
Scott's war thesis upheld.
Yeah, absolutely. Just reading a little bit about the director, John Milius. He's kind of an asshole. And he was the inspiration for Walter Sobchak, who is played by John Goodman, his character in The Big Lebowski. And I don't know when was the last time you guys watched that, but dude, he was he sounds so insane. He had like real firearms behind the scenes, and he like kept a gun like on his desk, and he was just like barking and directing people, and he sounds like a lot.
Dang, that's
a tough director to work for.
That's not cool. Yeah, my dad who worked, very briefly and tangentially in the film industry. It talked about this guy that ran a movie studio that he would keep a bucket full of freshly sharpened pencils so that he could take a pencil, put it between his fingers of one hand, slam it on the table to break it, and then throw it at people. And he would go through like 40 of them every day.
Ouch.
So
that sounds painful for him.
Isn't that like the stupidest thing? So it's like some people just like grow the freak up, you little child.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah. Let's see. So I have 2 more props for this film. One, I think the death scene at the very end with Jeb and his brother ending in a playground and him telling him like, Dad's on the way. We're going to see Dad soon or something like that. I'll give props. That scene hit me, and I think they performed it very well. Like, there's a lot of moments in this film just like, I didn't buy that, or like, emotionally wasn't really there. But that ending scene, I was like, no, I'll give you a full star just because of that scene.
That was the one scene that made me cry. I didn't get the shudders. I just got the tears, and I wiped them with my index finger and thumb, and I was good.
Also another prop. I really, really like when the credits at the end are a picture of the character, the name of the character, and the actor. I really like when they do that. Like, instead of just doing the list, I'm like, I don't know. It connects the actor to that performance a lot better to me.
Yeah, why did we lose that? That's like
it's so sad.
That's a very good 80s like thing that we lost.
We did miss the freeze frame into the credits, though. I do miss that.
That's true. Yeah. No, especially in like animated films. I really like when they do that with animated films. They actually put a picture of the actor next to the character they voiced. I'm like, thank you. That's what I want right there. All right. Well, here, let's wrap it up tonight. Just to get into our slimy scenes with, I think I'm going to go with Jeb crying over the photo of him being in Little League. I think that was kind of the moment that made me go, oh, this movie is worth watching. And really just kind of finish that arc that I've been talking about in this podcast of just seeing them go from terrified kids and to see, it sounds harsh to say corrupted, but just to see how much this event is affecting them and making them grow up too fast. Hardened. Yeah. Their heart is hardening, their mindset, everything is just hardening. And to see them hit that point kind of like humanized him again. And, I don't know. It just hit me a lot harder. I think I'll remember that for a while. In terms of my rating for this film, I think I'm going to give it like a 2. And I think I hit the reason why I don't like this film that much. It reminds me a lot of Lord of the Flies.
Oh yeah.
And I remember what I don't even remember sitting down and watching the movie when I was younger, but I remember a specific part of, I believe there's a kid in there named Pig, and he's got the glasses, and that's how they used to start fires. I remember them like dropping a rock on his head and killing him. And I remember just like losing my mind.
Dude,
I was just so sad.
Me too. And it's for me, it was because he was the fat kid. That was the part of it that was like so heartbreaking when we read that in school.
Yeah, no, I agree. Honestly, yeah. It was just like, wait, no, he's like the good kid. And you're bullying him, and us, back then, you're in class and, there's a lot of talks about bullying and everything. And they always use fat kids as examples.
Yeah.
And to see it go from like, oh, like, don't bully children and stuff like that. And then you watch that and it's like, oh, they killed him.
Yeah.
That really hit me hard.
Horrible.
But yeah, that's part of the reason I really didn't enjoy watching this film, because it reminded me of Lord of the Flies. But I can't deny the fact that there is some strong performances in this scene, and I think there's good stuff, but a lot of stuff that I just didn't really want to watch anymore.
So Harrison, hold on just one sec, Scott, because I saw your rating on Letterboxd, and you had given this movie a 4.5. So is that your rating from the first time you watched it?
I just remember that the last time I watched this, I remember liking it a lot.
Yeah.
But watching it now, yeah, I didn't like it. Like, maybe it's more like, it's just tough because, like, I can't, in terms of like an actual movie, I think it is a really good, well-made movie, but I don't like how it makes me feel when I watch it.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's tough. It's that whole push and pull of like, what does your rating actually mean? You know what I mean? It's like, well, I watched the film and I think the film is good and it did make me feel things. And that's always good in a movie, because if I watch a movie and I just kind of go, and I move away from it, it's like, okay, then it didn't accomplish what it was meant to do. So I think this movie accomplished what it meant to do, but I'm giving it a low rating because I don't want to watch it and I don't want to feel like that anymore.
Well, Scott, this is your movie, so actually I'm going to cut you so you have the last word, okay?
Perfect.
Similar to you, Harrison, I think the first 20, 30 minutes of this movie are like pretty awesome. Like just you're thrown into the fire. It's insane. It's uncomfortable. The part where the party like starts to crack and it's like, you can leave, and then they don't leave, and there's just this like tension that just stews, and I really tune out after like 45 minutes of this movie. And even on my second watch, I just like completely lost my motivation to kind of finish it. But there are some really interesting themes. We've talked about how this hits home in all the worst ways. Yeah, I think I'm with you. Like when after first watch, I was like, that's a 1.5 star maybe. And after my second watch, I'll bump it up to a 2. But yeah, I hope I don't ever watch this movie again. Let me rephrase that. I will watch this movie again, but I think I need a long time. And yeah, there's something about it. I think the performances just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. There's like multiple things other than Swayze.
I think this is a good example of a film that's more fun to talk about than it is to watch.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I forgot to mention my slimiest scene. My slimiest scene, if it's not the opening scene, it's got to be where it zooms in. It's showing the bumper sticker on the back of that truck. It says, "They can have my gun after they pry it from my cold, dead hands." It pans down to the left. You see a dead hand holding a gun. The guy steps on the wrist and pries it out of his fingers. I was like, that's kind of cool. I like that. But other than that, I don't have one other than the nature scenery. This movie didn't blow me away.
Yeah, so my slimiest scene is definitely Robert killing the team member and Jeb not.
Yeah.
That one's has stuck with me for a long time and will continue to stick with me. Just the getting so hardened you lose your humanity. That really bothers me. So yeah, I'm gonna go against the grain here. It's a solid 4 for me. Mostly because I think everything you said you guys say are true, but that's what you're supposed to feel. I think this movie managed to make us think about war and humanity and all the things, like I think this movie does its job really well, and it could have better actors and it could have better all the things, but it's also extremely 80s. So forgiving it is probably the wrong word. It's just not important to me. Because I think the overall like blandness of the in-betweens and stuff like that, I think is the point. Like it sucks. It's just supposed to suck. Mm-hmm. And this movie sucks. Yeah. This movie truly sucks.
Okay. So would you say this would you say this movie gives us a very similar feeling to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Do you think it gives you that same feeling of like my review was 5 out of 5, don't watch it. Like would you say Red Dawn has kind of that same vibe where it's like, look, yeah, it's a good film, it makes you feel stuff, but God,
maybe not as like perfectly calculatedly powerful as One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest, but in that same camp of like, I feel like you should watch this movie so that you can pull your head out of your ass about life. Like look at a reality. I like that. Look at a reality that you don't like to think about so that you're not a total sheltered idiot, basically.
All right. We need to have a movie list on Letterboxd or in our Patreon or whatever that's pull your head out of your ass movies.
Yeah. Well, my opinion on that question you asked is like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a great movie. I don't think Red Dawn's a great movie.
I agree.
But the feeling that you get at the end, I feel like those feelings are cousins, but like one is, I don't know, like this movie, it's not a coming of age story. It's like a hardening, you're seeing their lives get ruined type of story.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think that's why, I don't know, it's not as popular. I mean, like I said, like I thought this was like Rambo mixed with like Stranger Things, and then it's more like Lord of the Flies and like something depressing. So it's just not a fun ride. And they're not riding bikes, they're riding horses. So
there you go.
All right. Well, that's the conclusion of Red Dawn. Massive thank you to our listeners, subscribers, and especially our Patreon members for keeping the reels turning. Shout out to my guy Nate. Also, we've got a big announcement. Merch is finally becoming a reality. Okay. We're in the lab. What we want to do and what we want to know is what you would like to wear. You know, if you'd like a film-specific drop, a Cinema Slime dad hat, a classic logo tee, but let us know. You can email us at cinemaslimepodcast@gmail.com. And then last thing is get your homework done for next week. We're diving into the haunting world of Satoshi Kon's 1997 masterpiece, Perfect Blue. Watch it. Lose your mind and join us back here in a week, and do not watch this movie with your kids.
Womp womp.
I'm excited for something a little more upbeat. You know what I
mean? Oh god. So wait. Yeah. So I already watched it, which makes what you just said even funnier. So
I haven't got to it, but it's sitting on my desktop waiting for me to click it. So
I'll be honest. This is one of the first movies in a long time that I'm genuinely not excited to watch. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I think your gut is right on.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. Peace and love. Have an awesome night.
That's a wrap on another episode of Cinema Slime. Be sure to watch the next film before next Wednesday. We had a blast and hope you enjoyed it. This episode was a production by your hosts, Harrison Jensen, Ren Jensen, and Scott Shepard. This is a group effort, and seriously, thank you. Thank you for listening and watching us however you found us. We really appreciate it. Help us grow by leaving a comment, a 5-star review, subscribe, and share an episode with another cinema lover. Also, let's connect. Find us on Discord and Letterboxd for film discussions, reviews, and recommendations. Also, check us out on social media. We're always posting clips, film rabbit holes we're going down, and interesting stuff. And you can also show your support by using Buy Me a Coffee, and we'll give you a shout out if you'd like. All links can be found in the episode notes. Goodbye.